Prime Minister Netanyahu, thank you so much for taking your time and doing this interview with Univision. I believe it's the first time that you speak to our network, so welcome, sir. Thank you.
Well, it's good to be here. Hola.
Bueno, currently this is what they call a critical situation. Some of the international experts have said that this may be the last chance to achieve a peaceful and dialogued negotiation between the Israeli and the Palestinian people. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that it's about time that we sat down and negotiated peace between us. And that's what I asked President Abbas of the Palestinian Authority to do. Let's stop going to the UN trying to avoid negotiations. Let's sit down, work out a peace between the Jewish state of Israel and a Palestinian state next to it, recognizing one another with proper security arrangements for Israel, then come to the UN and say, we've made peace, now let's recognize this peace. I think that's what we should do. Unfortunately, I think what the Palestinians are trying to do is trying to get a state without peace. We want a Palestinian state with peace, and that's the right way to go.
After Mr. Abbas' speech at the UN, there was an overwhelming international reaction, from some big world leaders, of course the diplomatic delegates right there. You can't deny that the Palestinian cause is growing and it's getting stronger every day.
Well, I don't deny that at all, and I also will reveal to you a terrible secret. Israel doesn't enjoy popularity in the UN. I mean, this is a forum that often that could decide that the earth is flat or that the sun rises in the west, and it could say that Israel doesn't want peace, which is false. But I think that fair-minded people everywhere understand that Israel desperately wants peace.
What would you think in your mind, what would you believe would happen if it came to the vote in the UN Security Council? If, let's say, the Palestinian cause and finally what they're asking right now would become a reality and we would end up in a vote?
Probably in the UN Security Council they'll lose out. I'm quite confident that would happen because people say, look, we're willing to give you a state, but you have to give Israel peace. You can't have a state and continue the war against Israel from that state. You get a state to end the conflict, not to continue it. And that's what the Americans are saying, that's what President Obama is saying, that's what other countries in the Security Council are saying. First, get peace, get a peace agreement, then you get a state.
Given, of course, the history since 1947 and all of the attempts that have not been successful, what would you be willing to offer them? Or, what kind of concessions will be willing to do in order to sit them on the table?
Well, quite a lot. I think there's been a lot of flexibility in Israel. But there's one thing I won't compromise on, and that's Israel's security. I'm very, very tough on security. But I think this kind of flexibility that gives the Palestinians the legitimate aspirations they want for a state, for living freely, and gives Israel the security it needs to live in a durable peace, I think it's possible to do. But it's only possible to do if we actually sit down and negotiate.
Prime Minister, have you been able to establish any comparison or any differences between Yasser Arafat and Mahmoud Abbas, and do you trust him?
I think the good thing that has happened is that they've not resorted to violence. The one half of the Palestinian society has, Hamas, it's openly declaring that it wants to obliterate us. It's received thousands of rockets and weapons and missiles from Iran, and it's fired them on our cities. That has not happened in the Palestinian Authority headed by President Abbas, and I respect that and I value that. But something else has not yet happened. He's not yet said to his people, while I don't use violence, I am prepared, nevertheless, to end the conflict completely with Israel and to make peace. He's not gone that far. But I don't want to rule out the possibility that he could.
Let me ask you now about what is being called the Arab Spring. Israel seems to be in a paradox, of course, because in one hand it would look good, apparently it is better for those countries to be able to evolve democratically, but at the same time, for Israel, it could represent a risk.
What we fear is what a lot of them fear, which is that the Islamic militants will exploit this difficulty and impose militant Islamic dictatorships on these countries struggling for freedom.
Sir, thank you very much for your time.
That's it.
All right, sir. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
you.